Hey there, this is Melanie Hunter with Holistic Health. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am sitting at our dining room table. This is where we eat most of our meals, and I'm here to talk about raising healthy eaters. We have 3 boys. They are 3, 6, and 8, or as they would correct me, 8.5 and 6.5 and 3. And while they're not perfect eaters, they are what I would consider really good eaters. And it hasn't always been that way. I think that picky eating can be a phase, and we have definitely went through our phases, and we have overcome a lot of our struggles. And so I'm here to share our story of what's worked for us. And I will make a note right in the beginning, there are extreme cases of picky eaters. And if you have a child who is extremely picky, and I'm talking will only eat maybe 5 different foods or refuses to eat, I do suggest that you get professional help. There are extreme picky eaters who really need food therapists to help them. So that is not for, this message is not for you if that is your child. Please do seek professional help. But if you have children who are like my boys, who love to eat, kids' foods, of course, pizza and french fries and junk, and you're trying to have a more well-rounded palate and really good nutrition, then this is for you. So it's kind of hard to talk about how kids eat without first talking about babies. So I'm going to start there. If you have a baby, I highly recommend that you feed them only real food. This should kind of go without saying, but try to stay away from packaged foods as much as you can. If you're able to make your own baby food, I think that that's great. Also, you want to make sure that the baby is in a high chair and sitting and having meal times with you, and that you're sharing a meal and that you're modeling good eating. I think that it really starts when they are small and they see how you eat. And kids don't buy their own food. So if they only eat junk, then you have to take at least partial responsibility for buying the junk, right? So I could spend a lot more time on infant feeding, and maybe I will do a separate video on that, but start with real foods, start with one food at a time, make your own, go slowly, and don't be afraid of offering them protein. I think some people get a little bit scared about that, but I remember cooking chicken in bone broth and making sure it's pureed and feeding that to my boys, and they loved it. Or liver even, it's such a nutrient-dense food, and all of my boys liked liver when they were babies. So look for nutrient-dense foods. There's a lot of resources. We can go into that later. But as they get older, I think some of the things you set up when they're babies are equally, if not more important. So for one is sharing meals and modeling good eating. You can't expect your kids to eat really well if you're eating junk. And the same thing, I think it's more important what we do than what we say a lot of times. So if you're drinking a pop at dinner, then you tell them they can't have a pop at dinner. That doesn't really work. So really it starts with you. Clean up your nutrition and be careful what you eat. I know there are exceptions. We drink alcohol in moderation, and clearly that's not for children. But as a general rule, we eat the same thing that our kids eat. Sometimes I'll add other things onto their plates, but for the most part, they eat the same thing we do. So for dinner for tonight, for instance, we're going to have roast beef with carrots and mashed potatoes and bok choy. And so the way that we do dinner is that everybody gets a little bit of everything. And when I say a little bit, sometimes it's a little bit. I mean, bok choy, they might have like a piece that's so small it's almost laughable, but they have to eat everything on their plate in order to get seconds of anything. And we do this because otherwise Maddox, my middle son, would eat nothing but mashed potatoes, and there's no way anybody would touch the bok choy. But once they actually eat it, they'll be like, oh, it's not bad. And it's amazing what they will eat in order to get more of what they want. So I guess I kind of went a little bit far ahead, but meal times, it's important to have meal times roughly the same time. It's really good for kids to have some regularity and a rhythm in their daily life. We also have a strict no toys at the dinner table policy. That also includes books, screens, etc. I know I've heard parents say their kids sometimes will eat better if they are sitting in front of a screen. The only time we do break that rule is on Pizza Friday. The boys will eat at the island, and we do allow them to watch their movie and eat dinner, but that's it. Otherwise, meals are a time for us to come together as a family. We talk about our day, we take turns. saying what we're grateful for, and they have a chance to share anything that they want to, and it's, you know, really important time together as a family. And this is when they have their set dinner, and if they eat everything on their plate, they can have more of anything, and or they're allowed to have snacks after dinner if they eat all of their dinner. And we limit that to 2 snacks. Often that means 1 fruit and something else of their choice, but that can vary a little bit. And the reason we did this is because we were getting into power struggles, and you know, we really want to avoid power struggles when you can when it comes to food. It's not about rewarding them, it's really about we eat the good nutritious food first, and then if you do that and you're still hungry, then you can find something else that you want to eat after that. And there's different opinions on this, so I'm not saying this is the one way, but this is what really has worked for our family. We have went through a variety of phases, and we have had power struggles, and Maddox was a very picky eater for some time, and he would just simply not eat dinner probably 3 nights a week for 6 months at least. And I think part of it was because we offered him too much on his plate, and it was overwhelming to him, so he thought he could never eat that much, so he didn't even try. And so then when we started to go to smaller portions of everything, I think it was more approachable for him, and then he realized that he could try these things, and then he also realized that he likes these things. So speaking of that, you know, speaking about bok choy, for instance, you know, a lot of times people think, well, my kid doesn't like that, they won't eat it. And it's interesting because that may be partially true, but our taste buds are constantly changing. And it is recommended by pediatricians that you offer a food, the same food, to a baby or a toddler 10 to 20 times before you can say that they don't like that food. And I would even challenge it a little bit further to say that 10 to 20 times, yes, but also you can cook foods in a variety of different ways. So really you just have to experiment. You know, I think Brussels sprouts are the best example I have for our family, but if we just cut up and roast Brussels sprouts, nobody in our house really likes them. I shouldn't say that. The kids don't really like them. However, if I peel them off and season them just like with kale chips with salt and olive oil and bake them into Brussels sprout chips, they will almost fight over them. They are gone every single time. I made them a couple nights ago, and there was not a single Brussels sprout chip left. So, you know, really it's about offering foods consistently and also experimenting with new things. You know, same thing, my husband happens to hate cooked carrots, which I understand they can be really bland, but if you cook them in a roast with all those juices, I think that they're so delicious, and he will eat them like that. Same thing with my kids. You know, potatoes, for instance, Maddox loves mashed potatoes, but he would prefer not to eat a baked potato. So there's endless ways. Broccoli, my boys like it steamed. I also will make it with coconut oil and get it a little bit crispy in the oven, and they love it like that as well. So there's a variety of ways to do things, and you know, you can also add some things onto their plate. So last night I made a vegetarian soup. It was kind of a Italian bean vegetable soup, if you will. I followed a recipe, but I don't remember the name of it. Anyway, Maddox thinks he hates soup, so every time we say we're having soup, he like complains. But I didn't just give them soup. I gave them a small bowl of soup, which was packed with vegetables. I also made them a grilled cheese. I didn't have one, of course, but with gluten-free bread and vegan cheese, but they love it. And a little fruit bowl. And that was what was on their plate. And even though nobody was that excited about the soup, everybody ate all of their soup because they wanted more grilled cheese, which is what happened. And that was okay with me because they got, you know, all of the nutrient-dense foods in that soup. So kind of to recap, I guess, if you're struggling with meals, I think it's really important to model good behavior, eat whole, healthy, good foods, stop buying junk food, stop buying pops, stop buying things that you're fighting with your kids about, you know, stop the power struggle. Whatever your family rules are about dinner or meal times, just stick with it, and that's it. We don't fight anymore because everybody knows that this is the rule. You eat what's on your plate, and you can have seconds of anything you want, And you also can have an option of 2 snacks if you're still hungry after dinner. So nobody fights about it because it just is. So whatever your rules are, I think that you just need to be consistent. The no toys and no books and no screens has really been important for us. It's really great family time. I think that that's something that's worth keeping. And, you know, continue to offer a variety of healthy foods. And that's not just dinner. You know, adults forget too, you know, that you were supposed to eat vegetables, not just at dinner, but babies, toddlers love smoothies. I mean, my kids will still eat smoothies, but Ashton, or my youngest, loves them the most. And I think that all of my boys, when they were toddlers, loved smoothies. You know, you can make them sweet, but you can also put veggies in them, carrots, cucumbers, you can stick in there, avocado, which is technically a fruit, obviously, but greens, you know, my husband's put beets and cauliflower and all sorts of veggies in smoothies. You can get a lot of really nutrient-dense foods in smoothies. You can scramble veggies in your eggs and see if they'll eat them that way. I've made sweet potato brownies that I thought were delicious, and all but one of my boys loved them as well. But be creative and, you know, try to sneak veggies in there when you can, and let's get kids away from eating so much sugar and take out the artificial dyes. And there's no reason the kids can't be gluten-free and dairy-free and still really well-fed children. Anyway, I hope this helps. I went way over time again. This whole 5-minute thing isn't going so well for me, but please let me know if you have any other suggestions or things that have worked for you, or any other information or feedback. I appreciate your time and wish you much love and light. Thank you so much.